Both teams coming into this on the back of unexpected losses. They need to dust themselves off and just go for it on Saturday. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. Okay, so this is number 2 of 3 back-to-back recordings I have to do because I really do not have too much time today because I've got to go to work. I'm on a late shift tonight, so I want to try and get at least these recorded and hopefully up as well before I get going, so that you guys can see them before the bloody games that happen tomorrow. But let's just jump into this one. So it's Ireland versus Scotland. It's on Saturday 16th of March 2024. Kickoff is 4:45 GMT. It's in the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Last year it was Scotland 7, Ireland 22, and Scotland, I know, an early penalty. Scotland then score, and a Mac Hansen try then with about 10 minutes to go to half-time, I think, gives Ireland a narrow lead at half-time, and then Ireland add another couple of tries in the second half to win the game. But as always, and last year as well, we had the whole thing as well with who was it, Josh van der Fleer throwing to the line out, and who was it then? It was Cian Healy. Yeah, Cian Healy scrumming down at hooker as well. So Scotland had a great chance to win that game, and they weren't able to do it. Can they do it this year, I think is the big ask there. But let's have a quick look at the two teams, and it will be quick. We won't go into as much detail as we normally do because again, I don't have as much time as I normally would. So we're going to start with the home team, Ireland. So front row, Porter, Sheehan, Furlong. Porter and Sheehan definitely been in better form this year. I don't think they played so well last week, but you could say that about a lot of the team as well. Dan Sheehan, he's scored plenty of tries and stuff, but we still, and he was doing pretty well, honestly, in his set piece as well. But we need to reset that now, I think, for this week, and get that set piece back and firing. The second row then, Joe McCarthy, who's been a great revelation, but I think last week England really kind of targeted him to stop him, and the other Irish ball carriers didn't really step up to fill the void there, unfortunately. Tadhg Beirne as well, I thought England dealt with him well at the breakdown. He had been in great form up to then, hopefully returns to that today. Peter O'Mahony, I think he'll feel like that he let the side down a little bit with the yellow card last week, and his performance probably not up to par. But again, a lot of these performances were down to how well England played, and not allowing the Irish players to really play the way they normally would. Same with Josh van der Fleer. He's probably been one of Ireland's best, certainly in the back row and forwards, I think, this year, but not so much last week. Caelan Doris, we didn't see as much his impact with carrying again last time out, so again needs to return to that. I think Jameson Gibson-Park had to play on the wing last week, because of the Nash and then Crowley both having to go off there. So back to his familiar position this week, and hopefully he can deliver. Jack Crowley certainly would have learned a lot from last week, and hopefully he can put some of that into action this week. James Lowe, he, not just a big boot, he scored a ton of tries as well this year too, and Ireland will need him to do that again this week. Aki and Henshaw continue in the centre pairings, are in the centres there, and I think that is fair enough. Aki has been probably Ireland's best player for the last year, certainly. Henshaw has done enough, I think, to stay in there and not to be ousted. He's probably was one of Ireland's best backs, certainly against England last week. Calvin Nash then, nice to see him back in. He didn't really get much of a run against England last week. And Hugo Keenan back there in the full back position as well, with that game under his belt, should be better for this one. On the bench then we got Kelleher, Healy and Beelum covering the front row. Familiar faces there. We know what they're going to give us off the bench. Then, interesting enough, it was, people were thinking maybe Ryan Baird would be dropped, but it was actually Henderson who drops out of the matchday squad, and Baird is retained to cover the second row. So he's obviously a hybrid player. He can obviously cover the back row as well if needed. Jack Conan, I think probably Ireland's best player off the bench so far in the tournament. I would say between him and maybe Kelleher for impact off the bench. Conor Murray didn't cover himself in glory last week, towards the end of the game, but not many players did either. So in fairness, and I think given the situation again this week, he's probably going to make some different decisions and hopefully have different outcomes as well. Harry Byrne is in there at the covering 10. Haven't seen much of him this tournament, so the wonder about that is if we're making changes, does he only come on if there's an injury and he needs to come on, or will he actually be slated to come on with maybe 10 or 15 minutes to go? That's going to be interesting. And if he comes on, is he going to be put into the centres, or where is he going to be put? Basically, is it going to be straight swap for Crowley? Because I'm imagining that if with the kind of lack of experience he has at this level, that maybe and Crowley doesn't have a huge amount more, but he has enough now. He's done the whole tournament as a starting 10, and he had some from last year as well, and obviously the World Cup, that I think you keep Crowley on for the whole game. I don't see, especially with how conservative the Irish coaching team are, I don't see him coming on as like a planned substitute for Crowley. I think Crowley plays the whole game. Then Gary Ringrose at 23 is a really nice option to have off that bench as well. Next, on to the Scotland team. So front row, Pierre Schumann, for my money, the best loose head so far in the tournament. George Turner doing decently at hooker. Xander Fagerson has done really well since he come back into the team as well. Second row then, Grant Gilchrist and Scott Cummings. They've been decent, especially given like Scotland had some injury woes in that second row there, so a decent combination coming out of that. Then we got back row, we got Andy Christie, Rory Darge, co-captain, and Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey, I feel, has probably been, along with Schumann, Scotland's best forward, certainly most consistent, I think, over the games. Then the halfbacks, you got Ben White is in there at 9 is changing a lot for Scotland, whereas like fixture 10, Finn Russell, absolutely deserved co-captain, and one of the most skilled players, if not the most skilled player in the tournament as well, and he's had a fantastic tournament so far. Another guy who's had a fantastic tournament, Duhan van der Merwe, just scoring tries for fun. In the centres then, we've got Stafford McDowell coming in at 12 to partner Hugh Jones, so going to be interesting to see how they go together as a combo at this level. Kyle Steyn continues on the right wing. You know what you're going to get from him. Tough defender, makes good meters after contact, and knows his way to the try line as well. Blair Kinghorn, second playmaker, tons of pace to burn, and a real threat for a break and for tries as well. So he's having him in there, I think, makes Finn Russell even better at 10. Then onto the bench you have Ewan Ashman, Rory Sutherland, and Elliot Miller-Mills covering the front row. Certainly Ashman and Miller-Mills, we've seen a fair bit of them over this tournament. And then second row, then Sam Skinner has been a really good option in that second row. Matt Ferguson has kind of been in and out, in terms of contention for the back row. A lot of competition there, but he's going to give you something decent when he comes on. George Horn, another one in the mix for the starting 9 position. Cameron Redpath, who thought has done well in the tournament as well. He's had to kind of move around the back line a little bit. And then Kyle Rowe kind of similar, have to come in to cover people and stuff like that. So they're going to give you something decent off the bench there too. So two really strong teams that have been picked. Now we're going to look at some of the stats. So first up, tries scored. Ireland with 17, Scotland with 11. So Ireland the top try scorers in the tournament, Scotland second. So you would expect then to be a fair amount of tries in this one. Line-out takes 48 for Ireland and 40 for Scotland. Line-out steals, they have 5 each. That's the top in the tournament. And also, just going back to the try scored, Duhan van der Merwe is top try scorer in the tournament with 5 tries. He's out on his own in number 1. And then 2 players on the Irish team chasing him down, or trying to at least. James Lowe and Dan Sheehan both on 4 there in the number 2 spot. Line-out takes, Scott Cummings with 14 is number 3 across the entire tournament. Ireland's top line-out taker has been Tyg Byrne with 11. So, he's done a decent shift, I think, in there. Then, back to line of steals. So, 5 each for the teams. Sam Skinner and Scott Cummings have 2 each. Tyg Byrne, with, I think, joint most in the tournament with 3. He really has been a big threat to opposition lineouts. So, expect both of these teams to be putting pressure on the opposition ball when it's getting thrown into that lineout. Kicks and play then, 141. For Ireland and 114 for Scotland. Hang on, let me just check that I got it feels like that's the wrong way around, but I might be right. I just have to check it here now. It's always when you look at the stats and you go, hey, wait, is that the right way? Let me see. Bear with me a second. Not that I have a second. That I should be finished or almost finished by now. Let me see. Line it. No. It was kicks and play, right? Kicks and play. Where are we? Kicks and play. Kicks and play. It's 141 for Scotland and 114 for Ireland. So you'll see those the right way around on your stats. I'm just fixing them now. Okay. Then in terms of kicks and play, Ireland's top kicker is James Lowe, who's 4th in the tournament with 35. But first, with double the amount of kicks as him, is Finn Russell with 70. And then second is Ben White with 38. So, Scotland kicking a lot from Russell, but also Ben White, a big out for them too. And no surprise, really, that James Lowe is Ireland's, top kicker because of the distance that he can get on his kicks. Line breaks then, 32 for Ireland to 18 for Scotland. James Lowe tops the charts there he's second with 7. I think that's behind Damien Pinot. And then Duhan van der Merwe with 6 is in 3rd place as well. So both of those guys are going to be, sniffing for gaps. And if they get in behind as well, the fact that they're battling out for possibly top try scorer as well, you may see both of them get on the score sheet. Meters gained then, 1,735 for Ireland, 1,754 for Scotland. Scotland just creeping above Ireland in that, but it shows, even in defeat, that they were still producing as well. In terms of individuals, and James Lowe with the most meters in the tournament so far, 286, and then second with 278 is Duhan van der Merwe. So very close again between those two, and it almost feels like a personal battle at this stage. Total passes then, 802 for Ireland is top in the tournament, 619 for Scotland in the middle of the pack there. Jameson Gibson Park with 229 is the top passer, and Ben White is in 3rd place with 143. Offloads then, 31 for Ireland. Scotland top in the tables with 43. James Lowe, Ireland's top offloader with 7. He's in 2nd overall. Then Robbie Henshaw with 6, and for Scotland, Hugh Jones and Finn Russell with 6 each as well. And then in terms of scrum possession, win percentage, Ireland is 79%, Scotland is 65%. So in terms of how they think the game is going to go, both teams obviously coming back from those defeats. They're worked on a lot of what went wrong for them in the previous round, but I think that Ireland have had that edge over Scotland in the last few years, and the fact that Scotland, in their mind, they'll be thinking that in order to win the tournament, they got to deny Ireland any kind of bonus point, and they've got to win by a big margin, and that's a lot, rather than just thinking, well, let's just win the game. And I think that's maybe where they fall down, is that mental side of things. And because I think Ireland are going to win this one. I'm not sure how comfortable it's going to be. Like in recent meetings, it has been fairly comfortable for Ireland. But I think Scotland seem like they, even with the Italy defeat, seem like they've still progressed in this tournament. And maybe they're going to make it a bit tighter, but I still think it's an Ireland win.